After Ning Xiaoyu's fourth child was born, Li Su had 5 offspring with spiritual roots. These 5 have descendants of spiritual roots, and the best of spiritual roots as Ning Xiaoyu's first child born to him. The grade of its spiritual roots is around the 8th grade. These 5 offspring have brought a good increase to Li Su's spiritual roots. Now each additional offspring brings a 1-year cultivation base improvement to Li Su, which is several times that of the previous 1-year cultivation base. The entire Li family, under Li Su's measures to encourage childbearing, has a constant stream of newborns. The population of the Li family is still increasing. Another year passed, and finally, Shen Shui also had Li Su's child. But this child does not have spiritual roots. A few months after the child was born, Li Su also went out. This trip, he brought his first descendant with spiritual roots to Feishanzong. You can also drop by to pick up spirit stones. This offspring, who has just turned 12 years old, is already ready for preliminary cultivation. Li Su is not going to be cultivated in the family, but in the fairy gate, there are better resources. Like spirit stones, after the foundation establishment period, Li Su can receive 100 spirit stones from Feishanzong every year. Li Su didn't have much demand for spirit stones in the past, and he would go to Feishanzong to collect them once every few years or even longer. These spirit stones, Li Su, are all stored. He owns cultivation base boost and doesn't need spirit stones. Now, these spirit stones Li Su are basically used by Ning Xiaoyu and the others, and Li Su only stores a small part. If you encounter a battle in the future, spirit stones are used to restore spirit power during the battle, which is still very good. Brother Li, don't worry, we will take good care of him. With Li Su's relationship, his first descendant entered Feishanzong very smoothly. Of course, if you enter Feishanzong too slowly, you may still be eliminated in the future. Each fairy gate has certain rules and requirements. Like Feishanzong, there are certain requirements for joining the sect every 10 years. The 10-year requirement is still relatively loose, and the most rigid requirement is that if the foundation establishment cannot be completed before the age of 60, they will be eliminated from the fairy gate. Of course, if you have a late-stage cultivation base at the age of 60, you can also be a registered disciple of the Immortal Gate, but you won't be able to enjoy the benefits of spirit stones. Li Su can be said to be the only exception in Feishanzong. After sending the first offspring to Feishanzong, Li Su received the spirit stones and returned to the Li family. In the blink of an eye, another 7 or 8 years passed. In the past 7 or 8 years, Li Su has lived a fulfilling and busy life. He still maintains the rhythm of taking concubines every year, but he has not married a new fairy in recent years. The 5th floor of foundation establishment is at its peak. Li Su smiled. Although the number of Li's family has not changed qualitatively in recent years, Li Su's cultivation base is constantly increasing. It took him nearly 80 years to establish the foundation establishment at the age of 100. But after the foundation establishment, in just over a decade, it went from the foundation establishment floor to the cultivation base, the peak of the foundation establishment 5 floors. This progress is not insignificant. The promotion from the 1st floor of foundation establishment to the 5th floor of foundation establishment is much more difficult than the promotion from chi refining to foundation establishment. This kind of improvement speed is not much better than some powerful spiritual roots. The reason for such a big improvement has a lot to do with the increase in the number of offspring with spiritual roots and the better owned spiritual roots. In addition, the increase in the number of the Li family was like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger. At the beginning, the speed was slower. After the total number of people increased, the Li family continued to spread, and the number of people increased even more. Even if it is the 3rd or 4th generation, each additional offspring can improve Li Su's cultivation base. Master, it's born. At this time, an old lady came in a hurry. Lu Weijia gave birth to another baby for Li Su. You have a new spiritual roots descendant, and your spiritual roots has been slightly improved. You have a total of 10 spiritual roots descendants, get 100 years of cultivation base promotion, and get 100 years of refining experience. At this time, a prompt appears on the system panel. Seeing the prompt on the system panel, Li Su couldn't help but smile. Looking at it this way, the baby Lu Weijia gave birth to for him is another offspring with spiritual roots. Finally, he has the number of descendants of spiritual roots, breaking through 10. The 4 fairies he married made great contributions. Of the current 10 offspring with spiritual roots, only 2 were born to other concubines. The remaining 8 were born by 4 fairies. The combination of immortal cultivator and immortal cultivator has a greater probability of giving birth to offspring of spiritual roots. Although the spiritual roots of these 10 descendants are not particularly good, in Lee Su's opinion, they are already very good. Also, after the number of spiritual roots offspring has broken through 100, an additional bonus is triggered. Lee Su was awarded an additional 100 years of cultivation base, not only that, but also 100 years of refining experience. That is to say, Lee Su went to learn about 100 years of experience in refining. Good. Lee Su is very satisfied. From this point of view, in the rewards of the system of many children and many blessings, the total number of Lee Su's offspring is important, and the quality is equally important. After the reward arrived, Lee Su slowly absorbed the cultivation experience contained in the 100-year cultivation base and the 100-year refining experience. Foundation Establishment 7th floor. After absorbing the 100-year cultivation base, Lee Su suddenly found that on the cultivation base, he could reach the level of the 7th floor of the Foundation Establishment. The 7 floors of Foundation Establishment are considered to be the authentic Foundation Establishment late stage. From the 1st floor to the 10th floor, every 3 floors is a small stage, and the 10th floor is the peak. Not only that, 100 years of refining experience has also given Lee Su a level in refining. For cultivators, cultivation is the right path. Pill refining and refining are also very good auxiliary means. Medicine pill can make immortal cultivators grow faster, and magical item can make immortal cultivators stronger in battle. A good magical item, to a certain extent, can even make immortals leapfrog challenges. Of course, cultivation base is fundamental. The cultivation base is not enough, the advanced magical item can't be driven at all, and the spirit power of your whole body can be absorbed by the magical item, and the magical item can't even work. But cultivation is time-consuming and labor-intensive. If you are distracted to pill refining and refining, you will probably accomplish nothing. Therefore, generally only a small number of cultivators with pill refining and refining talents will choose pill refining and refining talents. Naturally, Lee Su didn't expend energy to learn pill refining and refining equipment before. Now, the system rewards 100 years of refining experience, which is not bad. If there is a need in the future, Lee Su can also refine weapons by himself. It's better to go to Fei Shenzong to improve the annual Spirit Stones treatment, and then go to the Rogue Cultivators meeting this time. Lee Su thought. Foundation Establishment early stage, you can receive 100 Spirit Stones from Fei Shenzong every year, double the middle stage, and double the late stage. Thinking of this, Lee Su stepped on the flying sword and set off. After arriving at the Foundation Establishment late stage, the true essence in his body is extremely strong, and the spirit power is constantly flowing, so he is not going to ride a horse slowly. This time, the speed was very fast. In just a few hours, Lee Su came to Fei Shenzong. Brother Li. At the mountain gate, the disciples of Fei Shenzong on duty greeted Lee Su. Junior Brother Li, long time no see. Hey, your spiritual pressure. More than 10 years ago, when Lee Su had just started his foundation establishment, the disciple of the foundation establishment middle stage he met saw Lee Su saying hello, so he realized something was wrong. The spiritual pressure on Lee Su's body was impressively higher than his. The eyes of this foundation establishment middle stage disciple suddenly widened. More than 10 years ago, he was on the 4th floor of the foundation establishment. More than 10 years later, with his unremitting efforts, he only broke through to the 5th floor of the foundation establishment. The 5th floor of foundation establishment is still the foundation establishment middle stage. But he never thought that after only a dozen years, Lee Su's spiritual pressure actually surpassed his. Doesn't this mean that Lee Su may be on the 6th floor of foundation establishment? But how is this possible? He had foundation establishment at the age of 40, and Lee Su had foundation establishment at the age of 100. How could he enter the country so much faster than him? Therefore, this foundation establishment middle stage disciple was stunned. Around, other Fei Shenzong disciples were a little strange when they saw his appearance. They didn't notice much difference. For them, the Ryotsu on the cultivator during the foundation establishment period was quite scary. Seeing this, Lee Su didn't give any further explanations, cupped hands on the foundation establishment middle stage disciple, and entered Fei Shenzong. Junior Brother Li, how could he improve so fast? Seeing Lee Su leave, the disciple of the foundation establishment middle stage finally came back to his senses, took a deep breath, and said, "What's the matter, Brother Huang?" The surrounding Fei Shenzong disciples asked curiously. The disciple of the Foundation Establishment middle stage said, "Brother Li, his cultivation base probably surpasses mine." He changed his words quickly. In Immortal World, strength is the most important thing. Even though he was still called Junior Brother Li Su before, but now Li Su has surpassed him and is his senior brother. What? Why is Brother Li's entry into the country so fierce? Isn't he 100 years old before Foundation establishment? The surrounding Fei Shenzong disciples all felt a little unbelievable. On the other side, soon, Li Su came to a great hall of Fei Shenzong. This is the Hall of Foreign Affairs, where disciples of Fei Shenzong receive spirit stones and some tasks. Just Li Su, who has been in Fei Shenzong for so many years, rarely participates in some activities organized by Fei Shenzong. Since Li Su sent a descendant, it has been several years since he came to receive spirit stones. This time when he arrived at the Foundation Establishment late stage, it happened to be stuck with a bug. It should be able to upgrade the spirit stones of the previous years together.
Li Su, you haven't claimed it for 8 years, here are your spirit stones. The elder of the Foreign Affairs Hall was squinting his eyes and taking a nap. When he saw Li Su coming, he handed a bag of spirit stones to Li Su. One piece of spirit stones is not big, and several pieces of spirit stones overlap, which is equivalent to the size of a mahjong. Li Su saw that it was 800 yuan in total. He was about to speak when Elder's eyes opened suddenly. The turbidity in his eyes disappeared instantly, and he stared at Li Su again and again. The expression in his eyes was rather startled and uncertain. Li Su, have you reached the Foundation Establishment late stage?
Elder asked with some uncertainty. In his perception, Li Su's aura is indeed Foundation Establishment late stage. For another disciple, such as the core disciples of Fei Shenzong who have outstanding aptitude and whose spiritual roots are above 6th rank, the elder of the Foreign Affairs Palace will not ask too much. But this is Li Su. The 100-year-old Foundation Establishment was able to stay in Fei Shenzong, eating and drinking for nothing, for so long because of its kindness to the leader. The Foundation Establishment was established at the age of 100, and it turned out to be from the Foundation Establishment level to the Foundation Establishment late stage in more than 10 years. This made the Foreign Affairs Hall elder dare not believe it. Shui elder, I just arrived at the 7th floor of the Foundation Establishment. In front of the Foreign Affairs Hall, Li Su's flat voice sounded. Having lived for more than 100 years, he will naturally not be as restless as those young people. Reaching the Foundation Establishment late stage is certainly a good achievement, but in Li Su's view, it is not worth making a fuss about. It is good. Elder finally accepted this fact, looking at Li Su with a little surprise. I didn't expect you to enter the realm so quickly. You only need to test your real yuan, and you can increase your annual supply of spirit stones. Elder took out a special crystal ball and said, Li Su drives the real energy and injects spirit power into the crystal ball. True yuan is the root, and spirit power is equivalent to magic power and the like. The crystal ball lit up and looked quite gorgeous. Sure enough, it's the 7th floor of Foundation Establishment. Your annual supply of spirit stones has been adjusted to 400 yuan, but you haven't received it for 8 years. I'll go ask the headmaster for instructions. The elder of the Palace of Foreign Affairs pondered for a while, and said. The other disciples receive it once a year, only Li Su has never been active in receiving spirit stones. This time, I didn't come to claim it for 8 years. The elder of the Foreign Affairs Hall was a little bit in a dilemma. He didn't know from which year he should give Li Su the 400 spirit stones. According to the rules, it is not too much for him to start this year. But Li Su has a special status. So, in the end, the elder of the Palace of Foreign Affairs decided to ask the head of the house before making a decision. Soon, the elder of Foreign Affairs Palace came to the place where the head of closed-door training was. The last time Li Su came, I happened to meet the master in the main hall. Normally, the master is in the back mountain closed-door training. After the briefing, the elder of the Palace of Foreign Affairs met the head of Fei Shenzong. You mean, he's already at the Foundation Establishment late stage? After the head of Fei Shenzong got the news, there was a hint of surprise on his pretty face. As a strong player in the Gold Core stage and the Gold Core late stage, there are not many things that can surprise her. But this matter surprised her. In her opinion, after Li Su's 100-year-old Foundation Establishment, in the remaining years, at most, he can reach the 3rd or 4th floor of the Foundation Establishment. Then it will run out of life and turn into a cup of Lois. But I never thought that after more than 10 years, Li Su has reached the Foundation Establishment late stage. It was beyond her expectation. Yes, sect leader, Li Su has been away. It seems that he may have some adventure. Palace of Foreign Affairs elder said. This is his guess, and it can only be explained by an adventure. When repairing immortal world, if you are very lucky, such as finding some immortal caves left by power, spiritual roots may be able to rise even if it is a little bit short. Spiritual roots is indeed the key, but another key is resources. The expression on the head's pretty face returned to calm. For the past 8 years, give him the treatment of the Foundation establishment late stage, and ask him to see if he still has any needs. If it is not particularly expensive, try to satisfy him. Yes, master, elder said respectfully. The elder stepped back. Li Su, the boss ordered me to give you the Foundation establishment late stage treatment for the past 8 years. This is the remaining spirit stones. After a while, the elder of Foreign Affairs Hall gave Li Su a new bag of spirit stones. Li Su took it over. Thank you, elder. By the way, is there anything else you need? Elder Axe. Li Su said, Elder, the disciple really needs something. He produced a list. This is what Li Su is going to use for refining. He has gained 100 years of refining experience, and he is going to try his hand. Elder took it, and glanced at the list. These are all materials for refining. Why, are you going to learn refining? Elder Axe. Li Su nodded. Yes, Elder, I'm going to try it. Immortal cultivators should still focus on cultivation. Artifact refining is not so easy to learn, but the master has ordered you to follow me. If you want to try it, I will go and get these things for you. After a word of persuasion, Elder said, it didn't take long for the item to be handed over to Li Su by the Elder of the Palace of Foreign Affairs. In Li Su's list, there is nothing too expensive. Things that are too expensive, not easy to get. It needs to be redeemed with contribution points after making a certain contribution to Xianmen. For so many years since Li Su joined Feixianzong, he has been eating and drinking for nothing, and spent most of his time developing silently in Li's residence, so where did he get the contribution points? This time, he was planning to exchange spirit stones, but he never thought that the leader would directly ask the elder of the Palace of Foreign Affairs to give it to him. Thank you, elder. After Li Su thanked the elder of the outer palace, he left Feixianzong with the harvest this time. Whoosh, a sword ray flew across the sky. I don't know which senior. Flying so fast, at least he is a senior of the late stage of Qi refining. It could also be Senior Li. Alas, I don't know if Senior Li will go to this year's Rogue Cultivators Gathering. I got his advice 10 years ago. I have improved a lot in the past 10 years. In the dense forest below, 2 rogue cultivators of the Qi refining stage were discussing enviously. The once-in-a-decade rogue cultivators rally is about to start again. Around Xianju Ridge, many rogue cultivators are rushing to Xianju Ridge. Senior, we were still discussing the senior just now. I didn't expect the senior to really come. That's great. On Xianju Mountain, when Li Su arrived, rogue cultivators came over one after another. 10 years ago, Li Su gave guidance to the rogue cultivators here, which was of great help to the rogue cultivators, and made these rogue cultivators avoid a lot of detours. Now seeing Li Su coming, many rogue cultivators are quite happy. Li Su's guidance is just right for these rogue cultivators. Asking some very outstanding spiritual root cultivators to teach them, but there is no such good effect as Li Su. Naturally, it is impossible for a mediocre person to learn from the experience of a genius. Although these rogue cultivators are immortal cultivators, they still have a very clear understanding of own. Compared with 10 years ago, there are a lot more rogue cultivators here, and there are a lot more new faces. Again, a little less. Look, that's Li Senior. Li Senior is younger than the legend. Not only is he young, Li Senior is also too heroic. In the distance, some nuns saw Li Su, their eyes glowing. Since the last meeting of rogue cultivators, Li Su's name has further spread among the rogue cultivators group. Many female cultivators also surrounded him. After many rogue cultivators greeted them one after another, some rogue cultivators wanted to ask Li Su for advice. Li Su pointed for a while, and a sword ray approached. He saw that it was still the cultivator named Bai who came. I haven't seen him in 10 years, but the cultivator named Bai gave Li Su the feeling that he has improved a lot. According to Zhang Yuer's understanding, the cultivator named Bai belonged to the Foundation establishment 30 years ago. When Li Su met him 10 years ago, he felt that the cultivator named Bai should be on the 2nd floor of the Foundation establishment. But now, this guy gives Li Su the feeling. Dot has entered the Foundation establishment middle stage, at least the 4th or even 5th floor of the Foundation establishment. If Li Su is still on the 3rd floor of Foundation establishment, he still cannot accurately detect the changes in his cultivation base. But after Li Su's strength improved greatly, the cultivation base was already much higher than that of Bai's cultivator. This Bai's cultivator didn't make any cover-ups, and naturally noticed the change in the opponent's cultivation base. It is impossible for a cultivator named Bai to have a gold finger. In 10 years, a rogue cultivator broke through 3 floors in a row during the Foundation establishment period, which is very rare. If it is a disciple of the immortal sect with good qualifications, it is possible, but what about this guy? If this guy's aptitude is really good, why doesn't he enter the fairy gate? Li Su quietly suppressed his breath. Perhaps it was intuition. Seeing this cultivator surnamed Bai twice in a row made Li Su feel that this guy is not a good guy. 10 years ago, cultivators surnamed Bai brought a dozen rogue cultivators away, but Li Su didn't see those dozen rogue cultivators this time either. After the cultivator surnamed Bai arrived, his eyes lit up when he saw Li Su. I didn't expect to see the fellow Taoist. The fellow Taoist seems to have a soft spot for this place. Bai's surname cultivator means Tao. At the last rogue cultivators gathering, the news that Li Su accepted 3 fairies one after another has already spread. This guy probably thinks that Li Su is targeting the young and beautiful female cultivator again this time. To some extent, the guy guessed right. Li Su's arrival this time does have this factor. 10 years ago, although he had descendants of spiritual roots, there were already 10. However, even if Ning Xiaoyu and the others had another baby for Li Su, the probability of giving birth to offspring with spiritual roots also decreased. After the union between 2 immortal cultivators, the probability of having spiritual roots offspring is indeed higher. But the more offspring there are, the lower the probability goes. Moreover, it is difficult for a woman to have unlimited births. No matter how good the physique is, after reaching a certain level, it is not easy to conceive. Therefore, Li Su is going to take advantage of this rogue cultivators gathering to take a few more fairies home. Isn't fellow Taoist also? Li Su replied lightly. Haha, I want to find some more helpers. The last time I went to the Blackwood Forest with me, the gains were not small, and I am still digesting those gains. Brother Li, join hands with me. Together, we can make the second order demonic. There's no escape for the beasts. The cultivator surnamed Bai came to invite again. Li Su shook his head. Sorry, I'm not interested. The cultivator surnamed Bai was a little disappointed, but he didn't force it. Then don't bother Brother Li. After Bai's cultivator left, Li Su continued to point out the rogue cultivators. The number of incoming rogue cultivators continues to increase. Here Li Su, the number of rogue cultivators surrounded as the largest. Night fell. Senior, this is for you. When they were about to leave, a nun shyly handed a handkerchief to Li Su. This is a female cultivator from the 4 Qi kingdoms. Once there is the first one, there will be the second one. Soon, another nun put a pair of embroidery into Li Su's hand, and then ran away blushing. Seeing that the female cultivators presented tokens of love to Li Su one after another, they made other rogue cultivators envious. In the past on Xianju Ridge, how could we see such a scene? Although these female nuns are basically female nuns with limited qualifications and hopeless foundation establishment, they are also fairies in the eyes of ordinary people. Before meeting someone who sees it right, they are unwilling to settle for own. In the rogue cultivators gathering on Xianju Mountain in the past, it was remarkable to be able to form a pair in one meeting. But when Li Su came twice in succession, both female nuns handed over tokens of love. Not just one. This is simply a fairy harvester. Some rogue cultivators worried that if Li Su came a few more times, he might harvest all the outstanding female cultivators. Not all female cultivators are as beautiful as flowers. There are still some female cultivators with average looks. But maybe it's the effect of spiritual roots. Female cultivators with spiritual roots, more or less in appearance, are much better than ordinary people without spiritual roots. The 3 female nuns who gave Li Su a token of love 10 years ago are quite outstanding among the female nuns. This time, it was still outstanding. After all, Li Su's strength, status, charm and appearance are here. If he is not outstanding, even if he has feelings for Li Su, he will feel ashamed and dare not act. When Li Su returned to Li's house, there was another fairy by his side. This is a female cultivator named Shen Xinyue who handed Li Su a token of love on Xianju Ridge. Shen Xinyue is not young anymore, but she still looks quite young. Many female cultivators will subconsciously spend some real energy on their appearance, or find ways to get it wherever there is Zuyin pill. This also makes some female cultivators look younger than male cultivators. Of course, this kind of subconscious love for beauty can sometimes become a burden, making the progress of these female cultivators slower. Little sister, come quickly, Ning Xiaoyu welcomed her arrival. Both of Shen Xinyue's parents had already died, so she followed Li Su directly back. During this trip to Xianju Mountain, Li Su stayed for almost 3 days. 3 days passed, and there were 4 female nuns who delivered the token to Li Su. However, in the end, Li Su only chose 2 nuns. One of them has a weird personality, and Li Su didn't fall in love with him. There is also a lack of beauty, not that Li Su is a beauty party. In the system requirements, there are also requirements for beauty, otherwise there will be no rewards if there are offspring. After marrying Shen Xinyue, Li Su sent out a welcoming team to take another female cultivator to her door. This nun comes from a family of immortals. There are not too many Shuxian families in Wuguo. After knowing that Li Su likes to take concubines, some Shuxian families with daughters also want to have a relationship with Li Su. These immortal cultivating families are basically composed of cultivators in the Qi refining period. Foundation establishment is hopeless. If the spiritual roots of the descendants of On are also average, who would not want the descendants of On to climb a high branch? Even if you want to climb a high branch, you have to choose a reliable person, or someone who your daughter likes. Li Su is obviously the ideal candidate. Li Su's strength is here. It is not easy for an ordinary cultivator family to climb up to a foundation establishment stage cultivator. Some cultivators in the foundation establishment period may not be contaminated by the world, and they are not willing to carry a burden. In addition, Li Su's reputation is here. Although he likes to take concubines, it is true that he is good to his own women. Li Su doesn't have any weird hobbies, his appearance is also high quality, and his character is also first class. This time, the second fairy that Li Su married was intentionally sent by a cultivating family to send their own daughter. It is also not easy for some Shuxian families to get married with Li Su, and not every family has a suitable daughter. Not every daughter is beautiful. There are also some female cultivators who are very young and are still trying to find ways to enter the fairy gate, so naturally they don't think about marriage. Therefore, in the immortal world of cultivators in Wu Kingdom, there are actually not many suitable female cultivators. The ancestor of the Li family married a fairy again. Yeah, it's so lively. The Li family's banquet this time is said to be very good. Have you eaten there yet? Of course I went. The Li family's hometown is really a good person. They even set up banquets for some homeless people. In Luo City, many common people are still full of praise for Li Su, a living immortal. Not long after Shen Xinyue married into the Li family, she had Li Su's child. Then, just like Ning Xiaoyu at the beginning, she couldn't stop. In just 5 years, she gave birth to 3 children for Li Su. Of the 3 children, one has spiritual roots. Another nun named Mo Ling gave birth to only one, but this one also has spiritual roots. In addition, the female nuns recruited by Li Su also added a descendant with spiritual roots to Li Su. In this way, Li Su has a total of 13 descendants of spiritual roots. Although there are only 3 descendants of spiritual roots in the past 5 years, the number of descendants of the entire Li family is constantly increasing. The age of marriage in this world is relatively early. You can get married when you are 15 or 16 years old. The new descendants of the Li family have grown up. In order to get rewards, these descendants also got married early, which further increased the population of the Li family. This also added another layer to Li Su's cultivation base in the past 5 years. From the 7th floor of Foundation Establishment to the 8th floor of Foundation Establishment. Although there is only one layer, you must know that the higher you go, the more difficult it is to add a layer. The main thing is that there is no reward for qualitative change. But it's not bad. This magical item is not bad, it should reach the level of a top-grade magical item. In his spare time, Li Su has a new hobby. That is the 100 years of refining experience obtained by using the rewards. It's okay to refine the weapon. With the materials obtained from Fei Shenzong, he can already refine high-grade magical items. The top-grade magical item and the cultivator of the late stage in Foundation Establishment are barely usable. Li Senior, my daughter has admired Senior for a long time. On this day, a member of the Shuxian family took the initiative to visit and expressed his intention to become an in-law. The news that Li Su's strength has reached the Foundation establishment late stage has also spread in the past 5 years. It takes time for this kind of news to spread. If it is that kind of very important news, the speed of transmission will naturally be fast. Li Su reached the Foundation establishment late stage. After all, it is not particularly important news. After the news spread, some Shuxian families who wanted to have a relationship with Li Su couldn't help it. Like this Shuxian family, they took the initiative to bring their daughter to visit. The ancestor of the Li family wants to accept the fairy again. This time, it is said that it is a fairy from Dongzhou, and that fairy's family members are also immortals. In Los Angeles, watching the huge welcoming team, people talked a lot. There were also a lot of people who ran out to watch the fun. In Luo City, taking concubines for the ancestors of the Li family is a lively event in itself. In recent years, apart from taking concubines, the ancestors of the Li family have also had to take in a fairy from time to time. It is also a good story in the surrounding area of Los Angeles. Around Li's residence, banquets were arranged for several miles. This time, the fairy Li Su married had a relatively strong family. It was the immortal cultivation family from Dongzhou of Wu Kingdom, and the whole family had been multiplied for 3 generations. The first generation of the family also came out of the fairy gate. However, this cultivating family did not give birth to descendants with 2 excellent spiritual roots, so there was no way to re-enter the fairy gate. This cultivating family also has certain connections with the disciples of the Xianmen, but after a long time, the disciples of the Xianmen who have connections have also been eliminated, or the cultivation base has grown further. They can't climb it. For the stability of the family, the Shuxian family thought of Li Su, who likes to take concubines. They are in laws with Li Su, a powerhouse in the Foundation establishment late stage. With this relationship, their family can be more stable. It just so happened that the youngest nun in the 3rd generation of the family liked Li Su very much after meeting her. So, this marriage is done. The welcoming team with gongs and drums entered the Li mansion. After the ceremony, the bride is sent to the bridal chamber. Li Su stepped in, looking at the beauty in front of me. Li Su, after the Shuxian family in Dongzhou took the initiative to visit and successfully established an in-law relationship with Li Su. In Wu Kingdom, some other small cultivating families have also moved their minds. In recent years, in Wu Guoshou's immortal world, there have been constant news about Li Su. The cultivator news during the Foundation establishment period did not attract so much attention in the past. But Li Su is special. The century-old Foundation establishment reached the Foundation establishment late stage in only a dozen years. It also participated in 2 rogue cultivators gatherings, and gained a good reputation at the rogue cultivators gatherings. At the 2 rogue cultivators gatherings, several beautiful female cultivators handed over tokens of love, which made good stories again and again. This makes Li Su's message special and able to attract people's attention. Xiaosha, you are indeed still young, but your spiritual roots can reach the 9th rank. Now Xianmen's requirements for disciples have further increased. It is not easy to join Xianmen. It is said that several female cultivators married to the ancestors of the Li family. The environment is not bad. If you marry the ancestor of the Li family, it will definitely be better. Yeah, you haven't met the ancestor of the Li family, but you know how outstanding he is. Seriously, if I hadn't married your father, I would have been a little tempted. In a cultivating family, a pair of parents are persuading their young daughter. Their daughter is only in her 20s. If she is an ordinary person, she would be a leftover woman in her 20s in this world. But for a cultivator, a female cultivator in her 20s is too young. The stronger the strength, the more it doesn't matter age. For example, the head of Fei Shenzong has lived for hundreds of years, but his physical condition is better than that of an 18-year-old girl. Under the persuasion of her parents, the female cultivator finally decided to visit Li's house. Soon, her parents brought her to Li's house, also met Li Su. Senior. Her parents rushed up to say hello. Is he the ancestor of the Li family? The nun was taken aback. Obviously. She didn't expect that the man in front of him, who was so young, so handsome, exuding masculine charm, was actually the rumored patriarch of the Li family. This is completely different from what she imagined. Just seeing the other party made the female cultivator's heart thump. Before coming, the subconscious resistance in my heart has disappeared without a trace. Sit. Li Su has already talked warmly with her parents. The nun was sitting there, playing with the corners of her clothes with her hands, peeking at Li Su from time to time. Her heart was full of Li Su's shadow. Then, only 3 months later, the welcoming team of the Li mansion set off again. The patriarch of the Li family wants to accept the fairy again. This is the 3rd one this year. If this goes on like this, all the fairies in our Wu kingdom will be swallowed up by him. In Los Angeles, people once again look lively. Some poor families are happy because they can have a good banquet again. Master, it's born, in Li's residence. Happy events continued. Li Su Shina's daughter cultivation base Li Su gave birth to a baby. This baby's spiritual roots are not bad, the same as Ning Xiaoyu's first child with spiritual roots born to Li Su. Both are 8th rank spiritual roots. Generally, if you are an 8th rank spiritual roots, you can join the 3 major immortal sects as an outer sect disciple, and there is no problem at all. As for whether foundation establishment can be achieved, it depends on many factors. 8th grade spiritual roots, if the resources are good, you are willing to work hard, and your own understanding is not bad, there is still hope for foundation establishment in your lifetime. Practice, to some extent, is a race against time. Theoretically, if a person's lifespan is unlimited, as long as he has spiritual roots, no matter how rubbish the spiritual roots are, foundation establishment can still be established. Li Su's extremely poor spiritual roots, with the cultivation base rewarded by the system, is equivalent to more than 1,000 years of cultivation. Isn't it a foundation establishment? Of course, without spiritual roots, there is no way. Finally break through 20,000 people. On Li Su's 122nd birthday, Li Su's descendants finally broke through 20,000 people. It took nearly 80 years for the number of Li Su's descendants to reach 10,000, but it only took about 20 years to reach 20,000. Among them, some descendants of Li Su died of old age. After Li Su's descendants broke through 20,000, the system rewarded them again. The cultivation base is still 100 years old and has not increased. Spiritual roots has also been slightly enhanced. Another reward is that every time Li Su takes a concubine, he can get a longevity pill that increases his lifespan by 30 years. There are different types of life-extending pills, but in the system, they uniformly increase the lifespan by 30 years. This is more precious. In the Shu immortal world in the Wuguo area, life-extending pills are relatively rare, mainly because this type of life-enhancing medicine pill and spiritual herbs are rare. In Feishenzong, medicine pills that increase lifespan are more precious. Ordinary disciples can't get it at all. The few pills Li Su got last time were rewarded by the head of Feishenzong after he saw his foundation establishment. Foundation establishment is on the 9th floor. The reward this time, combined with the scattered cultivation base enhancements during this period, successfully allowed Li Su to move from the 8th floor of the foundation establishment to the 9th floor of the foundation establishment. Another breakthrough level is the pinnacle of foundation establishment. His cultivation base has improved a lot again. In the foundation establishment stage, every step forward, the improvement is not small. This is related to the strength of the true essence and the purity of the spirit power. In Wuguo, the current Li family is already a giant. There are 20,000 direct descendants of Li Su alone. The Li family's servants, long-term workers, guards, etc. added up to a breakthrough of 100,000. Some descendants of the Li family have also entered the court, and their influence in Wu Kingdom is getting stronger and stronger. Master, there are people from the Imperial City. On this day, the Emperor of Wu Kingdom sent a team to Li's house. Soon, Li Su knew the intention of Emperor Wu. The Emperor of Wu Kingdom wanted to marry a young princess to Li Su. As for the status, the other party did not ask for it. This princess is still a princess with spiritual roots. It's just that the spiritual roots are very poor, they can't enter the fairy gate, and the possibility of foundation establishment is pitifully small. Husband, the royal family of Wu Kingdom is probably worried that if this continues, we will replace the royal family. Ning Xiaoyu saw the true intention of Emperor Wu. The Li family's influence in the Wu Kingdom is growing, and there are Li Su's descendants in the court. Although Li Su is not interested in worldly power at all, what about the descendants of the Li family? In the past, Li Su was weak and not a threat. Now Li Su is already the strength of the foundation establishment late stage, and has a special status in Feishenzong, and Feishenzong is secretly controlling Wuguo. Moreover, over the years, Li Su has been marrying fairies constantly. The cultivating families in Wu Kingdom are also following Li Su one after another. If Li Su's strength is strengthened a little bit more, it is completely feasible for the Li family to replace the royal family of Wu Kingdom. The current size of the Wu Kingdom's royal family is still larger than that of the Li family. Members of the royal family also pay attention to the increase in the number of offspring, and they all want to have more offspring with spiritual roots, so that more immortals will be born in the royal family. In this way, the status of the royal family is stable. But there are descendants of spiritual roots, not just what you say you can give birth to. At present, the number of immortal cultivators in the royal family is still in single digits. Moreover, what Xianmen needs is an obedient royal family, and they may not be willing to have a strong royal family. Even if the descendants of the royal family are sent to Xianmen, they often cannot get too strong training. Like the Siki kingdom, more than 100 years ago, because the emperor was born with ambition, he was forced to change his blood by Xianmen, and supported a new royal family to come to power. After seeing the royal family's intentions, Li Su didn't care. The other party sends a princess with spiritual roots, as long as the other party is voluntary, it is just right for Li Su. Then, a few months later, the Li mansion became lively again. This time it was Princess Na who passed the door, and the royal family of Wu Kingdom also made a big show. This wedding had a great influence on Wu Guzhong. The royal family is naturally much stronger than the general cultivating families. Seeing that the royal family took the initiative to send a princess to marry Li Su, some other cultivating families have more thoughts. Oh, why did we give birth to 3, but none of us gave birth to a daughter? A cultivating family full of sons is very depressed. Even the royal family married the fairy to the ancestor of the Li family. I heard that the fairy is young and beautiful, and she is also a princess. The ancestor of the Li family is really blessed. What's the matter with the royal family? The ancestor of the Li family is an immortal who even wants to please many immortals. It is said that if the ancestor of the Li family is the emperor, it must be good. Unfortunately, the ancestor of the Li family is a fairy, and I am afraid that he will not look down on the throne at all. Yeah, we can't even be a county magistrate in this life, but the ancestor of the Li family doesn't even want to be an emperor. This is a fairy. In Los Angeles, the matter of Li Suying marrying the royal princess caused a lot of discussion. In the eyes of ordinary people in Wu Kingdom, the status of the royal family is still quite high. In the royal family, there are also immortals. But I never thought that now the royal family will send a fairy to marry the ancestor of the Li family. It is said that after entering the Li family, she is still a concubine. This is enough to show that the immortal ancestor of the Li family is very powerful. Among the immortals, they are all very powerful. Such a powerful living immortal who is so kind to the people around Los Angeles also made Li Su unanimously praised by everyone. In the vicinity of Los Angeles, under the influence of Li Su, many officials did not dare to embezzle at all, and robbers did not dare to do evil in the vicinity of Los Angeles. It can be said that they did not pick up lost items. In the room as warm as spring, the candlelight illuminated the whole room red. On the edge of the bed, a beautiful woman in a big red robe sat there. This is the royal princess. Li Su took off the red hijab. The other party is indeed young, just an adult. Although she has spiritual roots, at her age, she hasn't even entered the qi refining stage yet. She looks pretty good, with Dangfeng eyes and Lu Yumei, a standard classic beauty. This is the little princess of the royal family. It is also known as the Pearl, in the area of the imperial city. At first she still had some resistance, but after meeting Li Su, this resistance quickly dissipated. Although she has spiritual roots, she can't build a foundation in her lifetime, so she might as well find a Ruyi scepter to spend this life with her. Li Su can almost satisfy all the fantasies of women. Powerful, handsome, and very nice to own women. Let her have a feeling of love at first sight. Li Su let the candle go out. Husband, why do you have it again? However, soon, the little princess of the royal family became worried. 3 years after marrying Li Su, she had already given birth to 2 children for Li Su, but within a few months, she had another one. Li Su didn't go anywhere in the past few years, and stayed with them all the time. After another half a year, the little princess of the royal family gave birth to a descendant with spiritual roots for Li Su. Finally broke 20. After the birth of this offspring, Li Su had the number of offspring of spiritual roots, and finally broke through 20. Among them, the best spiritual roots are descendants of 2 8th rank spiritual roots. Things like spiritual roots are the most irregular. Sometimes an ordinary couple may have offspring with spiritual roots above 6th rank. In the region of the 3 great immortal gates, Spiritual roots above the 6th rank are relatively rare. Every time one appears, it will be accepted as a core discipline by the 3 great immortal sects, and resources will be concentrated for cultivation. Even though Li Su is kind to the head of Fei Shenzong, the resources he enjoys are far from comparable to the core discipline. The 20 descendants with spiritual roots gave Li Su another 100 years of cultivation base and 100 years of formation experience. Finally, the pinnacle of foundation establishment. This time, Li Su's cultivation base finally reached the peak of foundation establishment. The 20 descendants with spiritual roots made Li Su's spiritual roots barely included, and the effect of the 100-year cultivation base is even better. Even though there is a big gap between the 9th and 10th floors of the foundation establishment, the 100-year cultivation base has brought Li Su to the peak of the foundation establishment. Now he is only one step away from the gold core stage. However, this step is not easy to take. If you are practicing normally, after reaching the peak of foundation establishment, if you want to break through gold core, the first thing you need to do is to accumulate strength and continuously condense true energy. This process requires a lot of time, and some poor qualifications. Even if they are soaked in spirit stones, their lifetime may not be enough. After all, it takes a lot of time to reach the peak of foundation establishment. The distance from the peak of foundation establishment to the gold core stage is much greater than the distance from ordinary people to the peak of foundation establishment. Once the breakthrough gold core period, and the foundation establishment period, there will be a world of difference. A cultivator in the foundation establishment period can generally live for more than 200 years. But the cultivator in the gold core period has a minimum lifespan of more than 500 years, which has more than doubled. The cultivator of the gold core late stage can live for about 1,000 years. And this is without using any life-enhancing medicine pill. In terms of strength, there has also been a qualitative change. Li Su's root is different from others. The cultivation base rewarded by the system, I don't know if it can break through the gold core period. Li Su thought, cultivation base alone, with his current level of spiritual roots, I am afraid that he will have to accumulate another 1,000 years, or even longer cultivation base to reach the standard of hitting the gold core period. This is after spiritual roots has grown tremendously over the years. If it was the spiritual roots at the beginning, I am afraid that the 10,000-year cultivation base would not be enough. Not urgent. Li Su was not in a hurry. He still has a lot of time. Formation. Li Su absorbed 100 years of formation experience. Looking at it this way, the increase in the number of descendants with spiritual roots can not only increase Li Su's cultivation base, but also allow Li Su to obtain some other aspects of cultivation base. Moreover, the formation experience is not particularly related to spiritual roots to some extent. Of course, without spiritual roots, one cannot cultivate, and without true essence and spirit power, one cannot arrange formation. Formation, refining tools, etc., experience is very important. There is also understanding. Therefore, the 100 years of refining experience obtained before and the 100 years of formation experience this time are not greatly influenced by Li Su's spiritual roots. This makes Li Su's accomplishments in refining and formation very good. The 100 years of formation experience contains a large number of basic formation layout methods. However, this is mainly basic experience. If it is some powerful formation, Li Su needs to learn it. Of course, the basic experience is here, and it is not complicated to learn. After gaining the formation experience, Li Su also fiddled with it from time to time, and set up some formations around the Li Mansion. Unlike the refining equipment needs materials, and it is a bit troublesome for Li Su to collect these materials by himself. But the formation is simpler. Li Su dissolved some of the magical items refined before, separated some materials, made some array flags, and then arranged the formation. It's just right. With formation, the security of Li Mansion is also higher. Although the area where the 3 great immortal gates are currently located is generally calm and nothing happened. No one didn't open their eyes to provoke Li Su, but with more methods, it is naturally safer, and it is still necessary to take precautions in case of emergency. Husband, why is the villa gone? On this day, Li Su brought his own women to the outside of the villa, and then activated the mountain guard formation. Then, the women saw that the villa disappeared from sight. My husband's formation is amazing. The nuns naturally recognized it at a glance. This is formation. Ning Xiaoyu flew over, and no matter how hard she searched in the original area of the villa, she couldn't find the location of the villa. Xiaoyu, this array is for you. In the future, if you encounter danger when I am not around, you can activate the big array. Li Su handed an array to Ning Xiaoyu. This is the first female cultivator he has accepted, and Li Su is relieved to entrust many things to her. It took Li Su a lot of materials to arrange the Li family's mountain protection array. The next day, Li Su left. He wants to go to Feishenzong again. In the past few years, Li Su has also been to Feishenzong several times. The main purpose is to send the offspring who have reached the age of 12 to Feishenzong for training. The practice of these offspring can also feed back Li Su. Of course, the current back-feeding efforts are not great. However, if the number increases in the future, it will be a way for Li Su Shu to grow. Soon, Li Su came to Feishenzong. Brother Li. The disciples on duty at Feishenzong became even more enthusiastic when they saw Li Su. Brother Li, long time no see. This time, the disciple of the Foundation establishment who is guarding the mountain gate is a new disciple of the Foundation establishment. These disciples are also rotated every few years. After all, immortals spend most of their time practicing. After the cultivation base of the Li Su Foundation establishment late stage spread, the attitude of the disciples of Feishenzong towards Li Su changed a lot. In spare time, many disciples discussed Li Su later. Li Su didn't start the Foundation establishment until he was 100 years old, but after the Foundation establishment, the cultivation base has advanced by leaps and bounds, which naturally easily arouses discussions among cultivators. Li Su came all the way to the Foreign Affairs Hall. He is going to claim the Spirit Stones first. After reaching the peak of Foundation establishment, the Spirit Stones received each month increased by 200 yuan, reaching 600 yuan. Li Su, have you reached the peak of Foundation establishment? Elder asked, blinking his eyes. Li Su nodded, yes, Shui Elder. This elder doesn't look like he can't wake up all day long, but he is actually a strong person in the Gold Core early stage. However, he is not a character like a sweeping monk in martial arts novels. It is said that Shui Elder was wounded in a battle, which hurt his foundation, and it will be difficult for him to improve in this life. The elder of the Foreign Affairs Hall stared at Li Su in surprise. 10 years ago, Li Su had just arrived on the 7th floor of the Foundation establishment. 10 years have passed, and Li Su has reached the 10th floor of Foundation establishment. In 10 years, it has been promoted to 3 floors. If Li Su was a spiritual roots above 6th rank, he wouldn't be so surprised. No, 6th rank spiritual roots are very difficult to achieve, and 5th rank and above spiritual roots are just fine. This is from the 7th floor of Foundation establishment to the 10th floor of Foundation establishment. 6th rank spiritual roots, unless someone pulls out the seedlings and uses methods such as empowerment, but this method is not very beneficial to the growth of the late stage. With Li Su's spiritual roots, how is this possible? Is Li Su's adventure so powerful? Could it be some power immortal cave? Shui Elder, is there something dirty on my face? Seen by Shui Elder like this, Li Su felt a little uncomfortable. Haha, Li Su, you are fine. This is 1800 spirit stones. You have reached the peak of Foundation establishment. If you plan to hit the gold core period in the future, you can get a gathering pill, which will help you break through. Shui Elder said. Okay, Elder. Li Su said. Get it when you're ready for the breakthrough. Don't get it too early. Gathering pills are very precious. If you get it too early, you might be targeted. Shui Elder said again. Thanks Elder for the reminder. Li Su said. Li Su still knows the reason why he is guilty. The immortal world has not always been peaceful. In the world of rogue cultivators, murders and treasures happen from time to time. Under normal circumstances, no one dares to provoke the disciples of the 3 great immortal sects, and even ordinary rogue cultivators cannot afford to provoke them. But everything should be taken just in case. In fact, Li Su seldom practiced walking in the immortal world, so he rarely encountered such things. Like the other disciples of Feishenzong, they went to some dangerous places to hunt for treasure from time to time, and they encountered more. From time to time, some disciples of Feishenzong lost contact. After receiving the spirit stones, Li Su Li opened the Foreign Affairs Hall and was going to the artifact refining pavilion to see if he could exchange the spirit stones for some materials. He doesn't have sect's contribution points, so he can only use spirit stones. However, just after Li Su arrived at the artifact refining pavilion, a female cultivator came to inform him. This female nun, Li Su, knew her and was a follower of the master. Senior brother Li, the head wants to see you, said the other party. The head wants to see him? Li Su pondered for a moment, followed the female cultivator, and led her all the way to the main hall of Feishenzong. Li Su hasn't seen her for more than 20 years since the 100-year-old foundation establishment. 20 years on, she doesn't seem to have changed at all. No, she gave Li Su the feeling that she seemed to have become a little bit stronger. It is unknown when she will be able to break through nascent soul. She was reading a book at first, but when she saw Li Su, she raised her head, her bright eyes looked at Li Su's face a few times. I didn't expect you to reach the peak of foundation establishment so soon. Your spiritual roots is too poor, and you can only be an outer sect disciple. If you are asked to be a core disciple, others will not accept it. The master spoke. Master, the disciple understands. Li Su said. However, your cultivation base has improved by leaps and bounds in recent years. Now I can make a special case for you. I will accept you as a personal disciple, so that you can enjoy the treatment of core disciple. The master spoke again. Personal disciple. In other words, the meaning of the head is to avoid some rules of Feishenzong by accepting Li Su as a direct disciple. For example, his spiritual roots is too poor to be a core disciple. More than 100 years ago, it was not impossible for the head to force him to become a core disciple, but that would be bad. Enjoying the treatment of a core disciple, but only getting foundation establishment at the age of 100, Li Su is likely to be squeezed out by the disciples of the Feishenzong and become a thorn in everyone's eyes, and it is very likely that he will not be able to stay in the Feishenzong. The treatment of core disciple is not bad. Of course, it comes with more obligations, and the degree of freedom is far less than that of Li Su now. But what Li Su is thinking about now is, being accepted as a disciple by the head is equivalent to worshipping her as a teacher. After that, can she still give birth to a baby for herself? Master, may I ask what you need to do after becoming a core disciple? Li Su didn't rush to answer, but asks. The head said, you need to focus on cultivation. When the core disciple is fine, you need to return to the sect to practice. I will give you the best immortal cave. You can also choose the cultivation technique at will. The treatment will be better than that of the core disciple. Better. Sure enough. From the looks of it, the headmaster saw Li Su's progress so quickly, so he became interested in talents, so he wanted to help Li Su. Judging from the unfinished sentence of advice from the meeting more than 20 years ago, she probably felt that Li Su took so many concubines in the secular world, and his ties to the world were too deep, which would hinder his practice. Therefore, the headmaster proposed to accept him as a direct disciple this time, and at the same time let him enjoy the treatment of the core disciple of Feishenzong. I am afraid that he also wanted to help Li Su cut off the mortal relationship and focus on cultivation. For other cultivators, it is true. Come a genius cultivator, operate like Li Su. That won't achieve much. But no one could have imagined that Li Su's cultivation base could advance by leaps and bounds, but it was because of his behavior of not doing business properly in the eyes of other cultivators. The boss is really kind, but Li Su can't use it. Let Li Su practice in an immortal cave for several years or decades. If his spiritual roots are good, he can do it too. The issue is, it is useless for him to cultivate by himself. The effect of practicing for more than 1,000 years is not as good as that of others for decades. Now there is Goldfinger, even if he is full, he will not practice by himself. Thank you for your love, sect leader, but the disciple is used to being free. Core discipline may not be suitable for the disciple, and it will not embarrass the sect master. Li Su arched his cupped hands, said. The master's eyes fell on Li Su's face. She didn't expect that Li Su actually refused. In Feishenzong, I don't know how many people want to be her direct disciples, and how many people want to become core disciples and enjoy the treatment of core disciples. Can Li Su? Why did you refuse? The master's eyes swept over Li Su's face. Li Su looked as usual. Why refuse? The headmaster spoke and asked very directly. Li Su had no choice but to say it again, and said, Master, this disciple has a character of idleness and wild cranes. There are too many restraints, but it is not easy to grow. Is it? The leader obviously didn't believe it. There was also obvious disappointment in his eyes. She's probably thinking, Li Su is obsessed with women and misses those women in the world. If the head doesn't believe it, Li Su can't help it, his gold finger, but who can't say anything. The leader threw out something. Since you have decided, so be it, this token is given to you, and you can still walk as my personal disciple when you are outside. With this token, you can get a certain amount of resources every year. Thank you, Master. Li Su didn't refuse this time. Disciple leave. Seeing that the headmaster was not interested in speaking, Li Su withdrew. I'm afraid the head is a little disappointed. Li Su saw the disappointment of the master. But Li Su has no choice. If it's just a direct disciple of the head of the sect, Li Su has no problem. But the head of the sect wanted to help Li Su cut off the dust and let Li Su focus on his cultivation. It was impossible for Li Su to tell about his own gold finger. We can only do this. If you are disappointed, be disappointed. After a while, Li Su break through gold core. I believe the other party will not be disappointed again. Although the leader was disappointed, she still remembered the original kindness and gave Li Su better treatment. Moreover, she is still willing to let Li Su bear the name of her disciple, so that it will be more convenient for Li Su to act in Fei Shenzong. It is also more convenient to walk outside, a disciple of a gold core late-stage powerhouse. Who wants to provoke? After the gold core stage, the early stage, the middle stage, and the late stage are also very different. Not to mention, the leader might break through nascent soul anytime. With the token given by the master, Li Su easily got what he thought of. This token represents a kind of authority. Li Su can get some things he needs, but the share of things is limited. What he received this time was mainly some materials that could be used to make array flags, and an earth fire pill. It can be used when the earth fire pellet refiner is used, which can generate a very high temperature earth fire, but there is a time limit. After receiving all the things, Li Su Li opened Fei Shenzong. Then, he went to Xianju Ridge again. The once-in-a-decade rogue cultivators rally is about to start again. Li Su is going to visit again. Not long after, Li Su approached Xianju Ridge. Li Sr., along the way, rogue cultivators popped up from below from time to time to greet Li Su. Some rogue cultivators from the high point of cultivation base also flew up to accompany Li Su. Of course, their flying position will be a little behind Li Su. I haven't seen Li Sr. in 10 years, and he is still so heroic. Yeah, when I first saw Li Sr. 30 years ago, I was shocked as diva. I didn't expect that 30 years later, Li Sr. is not only not old at all, but even younger. Some rogue cultivators complimented Li Su. With these rogue cultivators walking together, Xianjuling will be here soon. This time, Li Su was delayed for some time due to being summoned by the sect leader. When he arrived at Xianju Ridge, there were already many rogue cultivators on Xianju Ridge. And this time on Xianju Ridge, there were significantly more female cultivators. It's Li Sr. When some nuns saw Li Su, their eyes lit up. Li Sr. is here? It's over, he's coming to harvest fairies again. A rogue cultivators can't help but think. The rogue cultivators are old and have no hope of foundation establishment, and they only want to find a nun to start a family. However, in the past 30 years, Li Su's arrival made him no chance at all. No, it's not that there is no chance, but that all the beautiful female cultivators he has a crush on have gone with Li Su. The number of nuns this year is obviously more. Originally, he thought he had a chance, but as soon as Li Su came, the rogue cultivators knew. This year, many girl cultivators are probably here for Li Su.